do what they say they'll do. That's my view. You want to know what Hitler was going to do? Read Mein Kampf. And you think people hide their motives. It's like, no, most people aren't sophisticated enough to have two personalities, the well-developed lie and the actual plan. People more or less do what they say they're going to do. And so when they're chanting "kill the Boer" or singing about it, that's, even if none of the individuals in that chanting mob would take the next step, the spirit that infuses the mob,
the climate,
it's already there. Yeah.
So the counter argument would be that it's just a metaphor.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And you should respect.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Really, no, seriously, that's not
That's
a
the short
metaphor.
answer, yeah.
Well, come on. There's metaphors. And kill the X, that's not a metaphor.
Yeah.
That's not a cover for some benign revolutionary ideal.
Yeah.
No, it's like it's the call to blood of the psychopaths wielding the sword. And maybe there's some good thinkers around the edge who think, oh, they don't really mean it. It's just a metaphor. It's like, make no mistake about it. The worst of them mean it. And it doesn't take very many people to mean things. 3% of the population, that's plenty.
It doesn't need to be the majority of the population.
God, no. Yeah. It wasn't the majority of Russians weren't Bolsheviks.
Yeah.
Tiny percentage, 3 to 5% maybe.
Yep.
So, don't be thinking, you don't need that many organized psychopaths to wreak bloody blue murder. That's for sure. So
there was a cartoon about this in South Africa. It was 2 farm attackers. They've just murdered a farmer and they were running out of the house. And then the radio had a news report which says, "Kill the Boer is just a metaphor." And then the one attacker turns to the other and asks, "What's a metaphor?"
Yeah.
And so the "Kill the Boer" is a chant. And what happens, and now again, considering that people say it's just a metaphor, you have these politicians, many of which are more to the left of the ruling party, who are already quite to the left. So they have these political rallies.
The fringe of the fringe.
Yes. And then they make these speeches.
Let's name a politician. Yeah. Who's the guy who's been pushing this?
Julius Malema, in particular, is the leader of the economic freedom fighters.
Yeah.
So they fight for economic freedom.
He looks like he's lots of fun.
Yeah.
So now, has he been pushing the metaphor camouflage?
He would say he's celebrating the struggle against apartheid, and that's why he chants this. But then he would also conclude that he would also say that the struggle isn't over.
The struggle is never over, not for the communists.
Yes.
Well, it's over when they all die. Yeah.
So he would make a speech, and the speech would be along the lines of, "We need to slit the throat of whiteness." He would say things like that. He would say...
That's all conceptual,
Yeah, and then he would make this is an exact quote, he would say, "All white people are criminals and they should be treated as such." He would say this during a speech, and then he would give an applause.
That's standard Bolshevik nonsense.
And he says, and then they do the dehumanization thing, they call them cockroaches and all of that.
Right, that's the utilization of disgust so disgust is a very, very dangerous emotion. Like, people have this misapprehension that the German Nazis were afraid of the Jews. It's not fear, it's disgust.
Yes. Yep.
The thing about fear freezes you, and fear, if you're afraid of something, you also respect it. If it's disgust, you want to eradicate it, you burn it, you eliminate it, right? It's a disease, like mold. There's no quarter given. So any appeal to disgust.
Or they would say it's filth. They would say the white filth. So it's the disgust.
Yeah, blood, purity, all those metaphors, they're all disgust, not fear.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's making an appeal to disgust, boy, you better be thinking there's murder on their mind.
Yep. So they would do that. They would talk about economic inequality. And the road, they would suggest that the road to your wealth is to go and attack those people over there. And then they would say things like, again, this is a direct quote, "If you see a beautiful piece of land, go and take it, it's yours."
Yeah.
So they would make these claims.
Only the thieves own it now.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The people who own it are criminals.
Yeah, it's exactly what the bloody Bolsheviks did with the kulaks in the Ukraine before they starved 6 million people to death. Exactly the same place. Well, and you can see why it's effective. You talk to people and you say, "Well, look at how miserable your life is." It's like, yeah, it's pretty damn miserable. Look at those people over there. They have everything. Why do they have everything and you don't have anything? Well, it's because they're evil people and they took it from you. Well, it kind of looks like that, especially if you don't know any better. The moral thing to do is to kill the cockroaches. Right. Well, then you think, well, where does our food come from? It's like, well, we'll deal with that.
Exactly. That's what they will
We'll deal with that later when the Edenic landscape that we're promising makes itself manifest, which of course never happens, right? But you can see why it's so effective.
And so this same guy, he would, again, during a speech, and he was asked about this in court.
Because it became a free speech case, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he said, we are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now. That's the line he used.
Yeah.
And so in court...
Well, then everyone's relieved by that.
Yeah, at least for now, happy.
Yeah.
So there was a court case against this song, this chant, and he was asked to explain this. And he said, I can't guarantee the future. So the lawyer asked him, if you say, I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now, do you foresee a future where you might call for the slaughter of white people? And he said, yes, I do. I foresee that. But that would be their fault. It would be the fault of white people.
Yes, of course.
For not getting to the program.
Yeah, definitely.
And so they would make these speeches, and then once the speech is finished...
Well, the Jews in Nazi Germany, they brought it on themselves.
Yeah, it's
right.
Their
That's
fault.
the standard claim. Of course it is. Of course that's the claim.
Yep.
That's the claim that's analogous to the claim is, well, they're conspiring against us. We better act before they do. That's a genuine precursor to genocide. Like when that kind of rhetoric starts, that's what happened in Rwanda. It's like those people, they're preparing to attack you. You better get ready. Then you add the disgust and you add the economic inequality and you heighten that with some ethnic tension and you give people the excuse to go. Plus they're so angry. And you can see why. People who are like young and absolutely poverty stricken with no hope, they're so angry. And if they have the opportunity to turn that anger into vengeance, even for a day, especially the worst of them, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, mayhem breaks loose.
Yep.
And then there's nothing for anyone. Well, that's tomorrow. Yeah. Brutal.
So they would then burst into this chant. And it's not even a song, it's just a chant. Kill the boer, kill the farmer. And there are different variations thereof. And they would make
kill the farmer. That's a slogan aimed at death.
Yeah.
Kill the farmer. Okay. Well, what are we going to eat?
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, that's what happened in Ukraine because they descended into cannibalism.
Venezuela as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I think this may be still true, but at one point in the not too distant past, so I mean in the last decade, it was illegal for doctors to list starvation as the cause of death. That's how the communists dealt with hunger. It's illegal to die of starvation. Oh, problem solved. Problem solved. Yeah.
It's bizarre. But you know what's really, really shameful is, so I and many others have been campaigning against this for quite some time. And I can honestly say I'm not aware of a single cause in South Africa for which you get more viciously attacked by people in the media, the government, and so forth.
South Africa?
In South Africa.
And in the rest of the world?
And largely in the rest of the... No, I'm talking about a South African cause for which you get attacked more than campaigning for the farm killings to stop and for the hate speech to stop.
So explain that.
It would be you would be accused of fear mongering, and so we had this term rooi gevaar, the red danger was the fear about the communists, and now the accusation is swart gevaar. So you are depicting black people as dangerous when it's a minority. It is a minority who's doing these things, but you get viciously attacked
depicting resentful communists as dangerous, like they are. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a reason why. I think there's because some form of a hierarchy of recognition in terms of who should be recognized for the hardships that they face. And when it comes to recognizing hardships in South Africa,
Oppression Olympics.
Yeah. And this is an sort of an inconvenient reality when you go to the area of oppression Olympics.
Yeah.
So people don't want that to be part of the conversation.
Of the Jews, that's a rough one because they're the radicals who play the oppression Olympics game won't let the Jews play because they're successful. Right, so you don't get to play. You don't get to be in the oppression Olympics, even if you have reason to be terrified out of your skulls. Say
because it's inconvenient to us. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's a counter. It goes against the narrative in a terrible way. The victimization narrative.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely playing out in South Africa. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Because the fundamental rule of that narrative is, if you're poor and dispossessed, you're moral and oppressed. And, you know, some people who are poor and dispossessed are moral and oppressed, and some aren't.
Yep.
And look out for the ones that aren't, because some of them are vicious, psychopathic, murderous criminals, and you don't need that many of them. And they're generally about 3 to 4% of the population. So heaven help you when they organize. And people are so naive about that. You see that especially on the left. You saw this again in the Soviet Union, because the rule was, well, if you're a criminal, then you're part of the victim class, which is why the bloody Russians let the criminals run the Gulag camps. You're a socially friendly element. Well, why are you a criminal? Well, it's because you were oppressed by the landowner. It's like, no, I'm a murderous thug. No such thing. Yeah. Just victims.
So the criminal is a victim.
The criminal. And the worse the criminal, the more the evidence for the victimization. And it's partly because, like, to give the devil his due, a lot of the radical progressive leftists, especially the sheltered middle class type, they're very agreeable by temperament. They're empathic. They're maternal. They have no idea. There's no space in their worldview for the sort of person you don't want to have hiding under your bed at 3 a.m. when you come home from a party. It's like, those people don't exist. They're just victims. It's like, you wait till you run across one. You'll change your tune. But if you're protected enough, you never have to deal with that reality. You know, because you're Jean-Jacques Rousseau and everybody's a noble savage. It's like, well, most people are peaceful, even if provoked. Some people aren't. Right. And you better be able to draw the distinction.